veto for you. Where are these two teams going to end up squaring off against one another? Team 1 will ban first, and then we will go down as Border and Clubhouse. Clubhouse was a very popular map, it seems. Not going to really see it this week, apparently. So we'll see where we end up going instead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no Border for sure this time, so we're definitely not going to get a repeat of the first match. Bank is still available, so still a possibility there. Coastline and Oregon, though, going to be the first two to go, so it's unfortunate to see no Coastline or Oregon, as those have been other steadfast ones. As I mentioned earlier, Consulate have been fairly popular, so there's a possibility there as it's down to Consulate and Villa, as Bank is now off the board.
Bank is gone, so Consulate or Villa means that we will see another new map today, which everybody rejoice here. Consulate gone.
Villa.
We're going to head to Villa. Not a lot of Villa in Latin America. We said this in the second matchup. Not really a map that has seen a ton of play. In fact, we saw it 3 times in EU last week.
Yeah, and only twice overall
in Latin America. So we saw Villa more in EU last week than we have seen in Latin America all season. So it's going to be very interesting to go in here. I mean, a lot of similarities in some ways to Bank, which we just saw in Villa. Villa's a huge map. Tons of destructibility, 4 sites that I think you can arguably defend, even though that living room library downstairs typically is the redheaded stepchild of all of the 4 sites. I mean, Villa's a very intriguing map as well because it typically strongly favors the defense.
Yeah.
You need to be, we have had teams time and time again come on here in interviews and say, you need to win your defenses. Opposite of Coastline, a map where you got to win your attacks. Villa right now, very heavily defender-sided, especially if operators such as Maestro, such as Mira, go unbanned. And if you can take out a Hard Breacher, a Maverick, possibly a Hibana, it's going to strengthen the defense even more to the point where if you're walking away with 2 attack rounds in your split, you're in a very strong position moving into the other half. So,
well, with all that said, not to mention the fact that neither of these teams have played Villa this season at all, I would expect some slow attack rounds initially, as they have to do the droning, they have to do the work to figure out how the defenses are set up. Because like you said, it's defensive-sided, which means you really need to shut down and win those attacks against those defenses, and that means you need to learn what your opponent's going to do, which means it's going to be a lot of guessing for the first 3 rounds, right? Because you're likely to see 3 different bomb sites, most likely, that are 2 at most, but you'll still see those having to be droned out, have to figure out how are these guys setting this up, unless they've played it in BR6 or something else outside of Pro League. This is going to be very feel out for the first few rounds, and that should, in theory, lead to some slow attacks, unless we see some very aggressive defense.
Yeah, I mean, usually Aviator games upstairs, that's going to be your number 1 defensive spot. A lot of that does hinge on both Maestro and Mira, because defending that site without a Mira is a little bit more difficult. Sometimes you will see teams divert and go over to Trophy and Statuary instead, because you can hold that with the impact tricking on the long wall inside a master bedroom. You don't necessarily need a Mira available to you. Some teams, without a Mira, will go downstairs to Kitchen, because Kitchen is much more defendable with an Echo, with a Maestro, with a Smoke, and that sort of deal. So it's nice to see that diversity here, and we've seen teams pull out Living Room Library as well, even though it is very much not in vogue at the moment. So there's a lot of healthy counterplay here for the attackers when looking at the sites for the defenders. Community vote time, though. As I adopt an accent that is not my own, I wouldn't be too surprised here if these are more definitive results, and Immortals will take 66%. But there's quite a lot of you that are not exactly sold that this map is going to go one way or another, and you end up with the draw.
Fair enough.
There in the middle.
I think there's definitely a strong possibility of that, because you could have Team 1 showing up stronger than usual. You could have Immortals, showing up a little less than usual, and either way, you kind of meet in the middle there. So,
I mean, a lot of Immortals, it seems like we say this about most Latin America teams, but a lot of Immortals, once again, is going to be how they can slow down the attackers before they get to the site.
Yeah.
Strong roam presence. Cyber, incredible player. Navi's, incredible player. These are 2 guys that you're going to lean upon for Immortals, whereas when you look at Team 1, you're going to look at Ion as a major focal point.
Yeah.
Panico, somebody who's got tons of potential and is an incredible playmaker for Team 1 as well. These are just 2 people on the other side of the equation that if they don't show up, you're in particular trouble. Immortals has, I feel, a bit of a deeper roster, and maybe because they've been together a little bit longer as a team, they've got the resources and I guess strategic know-how to be able to box out their opponents if things start to go sideways and their opponents end up getting the leg up on them. But Villa's a very interesting map for that because it really depends on how well your opponent plays their defense. Let's load in here to our favorite Italian countryside map, the only Italian countryside map in the game. And Team 1, starting on defense, they will get ban number 1.
It'll be interesting to see if Clash goes off the board here because, as you said, delaying time is going to be a big factor in this. Lion going out first, as we said earlier, not a surprise there. The second attacker ban sometimes has been an interesting wild card. Blitz, as you mentioned earlier during the operator stuff, that Blitz has been banned a lot in Latin America. It is definitely one of the bigger operators for the region, and there goes Clash, so that's not going to be used to delay a little bit, which makes sense. You definitely want to get that out.
I mean, last week against Boot Camp, Team 1 used their defensive ban on Clash, so not much of a surprise there. They're going to ban out Echo, which, once, as I mentioned before, this is going to leave both Mira as well as Maestro still very much in play, and that is going to be interesting to watch how it shapes this matchup. Unfortunately, we're not going to get to see an abundance of Echo play from this region. Interestingly enough, his ban rate was not that high heading into today, but he's been banned in every single match, the exact same as Lion.
Yeah, they're not feeling the Echo today. But that means they are going to be able to bring Maestro, but I feel like even with Maestro unbanned, we haven't seen as much of it as I would expect. Seems like, they'll ban Echo and be like, okay, well, we'll play Maestro, but no, they just are just not terribly interested in it. Montaigne getting played yet again. We have seen some regions trying out Montaigne. I remember Team Secret, for example, trying to use Monty on this map. It is interesting to see it attempted here, although I don't know if it's really been all that effective. But teams are still feeling this map out at this point, so now's the time to try stuff like that, I suppose, on the first round. They are going to at least have Navi's able to try and get some idea where gadgets are positioned, which will definitely help Monty be able to push on in and hopefully not step in Legion mines or run into some of those stuns, the Grismont mines from Ela. So good choice there having that. They only have the one hard breacher. This time Habana was not banned, but they are choosing to only run with Thermite, which, to be fair, Thermite is pretty effective on these walls, but with the way a lot of stuff can be bandit tricked, it does sometimes work a little bit better to bring the extra cars. But on this bomb site, it is known to try and do the Thermite floor trick to try and open up part of the wall there. We'll try and get some angles in, but they are definitely going to have a mirror window to try and make this defense a little bit more effective, as you mentioned earlier.
For those that don't know, the Thermite floor trick, it's pretty common for people not to know that, I would say. But
to be fair,
the Thermite floor trick is where you place an exothermic charge on the ground, just near a reinforcement, and then when the exothermic charge blows up, it also blows up the wall.
Similar to the Oregon classroom wall blowing up the hatch.
Correct. I mean, you blow up the hatch and it blows up the ground on the other side of it. If you go into classroom and they happen to reinforce a wall, you can take out both in one fell swoop.
Yeah, this is like basically the reverse of that by putting it on the floor instead of the wall.
So, showing that they banned the Blitz, Immortals rolling out the Montaigne. And interestingly, Team 1, of course, starting over in the trophy and statuary side of things. They have a setup that could really go onto any site here, though, but as mentioned, no Maestro available. Or rather, available, but just not in play.
Ooh, there goes Monty. That was a quick slay.
And that is a very unfortunate death as well. That's going to be a major part of your push. And losing it early, that is not great. The Legion of Panico taking some damage. This is a high DPS gun. You don't see it get played an awful lot in the hands of IQ, the G8A1, often called IQ's LMG. Very slow ADS time, but if my numbers are correct, it does have the highest DPS of any of the weapons. And look at that. Look at how long it took for Navi's to be able to stare down the barrel of that gun. But it doesn't really matter. He still gets the kill onto Ion the Ela, who will remarkably lose a close-range fight. Cyber taking some damage earlier as he took out Panico. That was the Legion that had taken out the Montaigne. So ultimately, a belated refrag, meaning that Immortals with an advantage, still losing quite a bit of health in the process, though, on two separate members.
Well, it doesn't matter too much about the ADS time if he just keeps in ADS as he goes around pretty much all of those corners. So well played. Great start for them. Navi's doing a great job. I mean, you usually see him playing a lot of Twitch, for example. He definitely does a lot of damage with the F2, so it's interesting to see how he's adopted that gun on IQ instead. Yeah, I mean, he is at half health as is Cyber, so they are a little bit knocked down as well as losing the Monty. But they've got the man advantage here since they've taken out both the Legion and the Ela. So that's the main roamers for the most part taken out, although GDN actually going to be creeping around a bit on this smoke. Getting a little close to the window, I believe that is. Nope, the wall there. There we go. Nicely played.
Yuke, though, not fast enough. As Yuke is able to take out Hugzord, traded off Navi's excellent job holding that angle, leaving GDN, who'd taken out the single hard breacher to try and save the chances of Team 1, but will be in vain. A big 3K from Navi's on that round for Immortals as the buck below just trying to assert dominance underneath that diffuser. IMT up 1-0, and amazing they were able to pull that out even after losing probably the most influential operator for their attacking strategy, the Monte.
Well, as you said earlier, when the gunners are on, it makes a big difference, and Navis is definitely a big gunner for this team. So the fact that he was still alive, I think, was really the game changer in the sense that he definitely knows what he's doing despite the slow ADS time you mentioned. Played it very well, taking advantage of that DPS. We'll see if they are able to be successful the second time around, though, because unlike what we saw in the previous matches, they're actually going to try the site a second time. Before, on the other two matches, we saw them pretty much just immediately switching off sites they weren't winning. So we'll see if the second try for Team 1 is going to work out a little bit better, as they did have a decent defense there. They were able to take out the Monty earlier, as you noted, and that should have been a big blow to the team had Navi's not continued to show up throughout that round.
In defense of Immortals, and just to provoke a bit of criticism towards Team 1, that kill onto the Montaigne struck me more as a one-off encounter and a bit of luck more than just sheer poison skill.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, and I mean, you can't exactly replicate that and hope to get that again, because that Montaigne really probably should have been able to continue pushing down that hallway.
Oh yeah, he's going to live longer this time.
I would imagine so, and I would imagine that because of the same lineup from Team 1, exact same 5 operators, we're going to see a similar setup here for their defense, which means that I would expect Immortals to probably make some adjustments and pressure the Master a little bit earlier, because they left Yuke and Master all alone, and he did manage to take out Hugzord, the Mira, which is an excellent trade for a Thermite, even after GDN refragged it. That's still a win for Immortals.
Yeah, but leaving him alone in there definitely didn't give him a good ability to kind of push forward from there. He was pretty much just holding position for the most part, waiting to come, get that plant down, which you don't usually want the diffuse carrier to hang out inside a room by himself on the opposite side of the defenders. In this case, though, one's actually carrying the diffuser on the Monty, which is, I mean, it's a risky thing to do to an extent, unless you're absolutely keen to do the old turtle plant, although he can drop it prior to walking into the room. So I guess he will stay alive, potentially longer most of the time. Carrying the diffuser around, as you usually don't lose a Monty as early as we saw last round. Looks like he is going to pressure down that same hallway, though, right through that barbed wire. And the barbed wire noise might have been part of what keyed them to his position last time. They're just going to continue to walk through it. Nope, there we go. They tried to get him.
Not enough damage being done there whatsoever. Exo, that Gushmat that was able to go off and move the Monty out so that you could see the Legion get in on it. He'll scamper off Panico. Oh man, just run for your life. He's got 1 HP and a dream as the Legion just narrowly avoids death.
You got to imagine they're going to reset him.
I mean, you've got a minute and 20 seconds. Perfect opportunity for a reset. Navi's just, once again, tried to ADS around the banister, took a little bit too long. I mean, you land those shots with either the AUG or the Commando, and that's very likely that Navi's gets that kill.
Well, he's still trying to adapt to it, but nonetheless, they are not in a terrible position. They haven't lost anyone yet, just half health. But as I say that, of course, Navi's down. Now, this is a big blow, more so than the Monte.
That was an excellent play there from Hugzord to be able to make that work. And Hugzord gets a second, tries to melee the shield. Hugzord cannot connect, rocking the Immortals skin just as a bit of show of support. Still trying to get this Montaigne out. Montaigne does not unshield when you melee him, so he can just stand there as a sentry and wait. The whole floor beneath him getting blown to pieces by the Buck, but the Buck will get found through those holes opened up. The Bandit of Falls managing to get that kill from the floor above. It's just Yuke and One who will have to do most of this heavy lifting. And there's Yuke getting a big kill onto Panico. possibly could end up being impactless. The shield of one will get dropped. He'll get knifed from Ion. Yuke jumping in onto a goo mine. He's going to be slowed down in his advance. 10 seconds to go, and there's Ion jumping out of the window. T1 just absolutely clobbering Immortals in that round, and they don't get the early pick on the Monty, but they make necessary adjustments. They fall back to site, and they force Immortals to bring the fight to them and then beat them one by one by one.
Certainly worked, as unfortunately for them, Monty couldn't seem to do much except for stand and watch all his friends die around him. Was not a great position to be in, and definitely a much better round for Team 1 that time around. As you said, they didn't get the Monty early, but they got the key players early on, managed to kill quite a few of the fraggers, and leave it down to a situation where it was just Thermite and Monty, not a position attackers want to be in at all. This time, though, they might be bringing the glass. Nope, they're just going to fake it for the Monty. Again, they're really insistent on this, as it's only worked one of the 2 times so far. Although, to be fair, he did stay alive the longest, almost, last round. But the bomb site is going to change over to Aviator Games, as they have 1 trophy now. So this is the other secondary bomb site for the most part. Although, as you said, some teams without Mira will tend to play down in Kitchen quite a bit as well. So that's either the 2nd or 3rd bomb site, depending on how things are shaping up. We are going to see Maestro for this bomb site, though. It's finally going to get brought out here. Same attacker lineup, just slightly different defender setup here. We'll see how things go on this particular bomb site. Again, barbed wire for these hallways, as you want to be able to fight down classical hallway if possible. Probably won't have Monty going down the same way this time, although that would bring him right up to the door of the actual bomb site, although that might be a desirable thing to do. But Navi's is going to continue to stick on that IQ. See, it works out a little bit better this time, as hopefully he doesn't get into a gunfight he can't ADS into fast enough.
Attackers have recovered their diffuser. Attackers' objective
You
is
still have some late setup here coming out from the Maestro. Finally sets up a second Evil Eye. Looks like they are bringing at least Monty probably to the study to push in from there as a big wall of force pushing towards the wall that faces into the actual Aviator room.
Funny part about this now, with Navi's bringing the IQ, we didn't really see a lot of actual gadget use from the IQ, all things considered. It was mostly just brought as a fragging operator, which is interesting. When you've got a 3-speed operator, you typically want to be able to take advantage of that by quickly peeking around the corners, being able to get the kills that you need. But I mean, that's one of the main criticisms of this gun of IQ, is that it transitions her from being a strong and competent, quick to get a kill entry fragger. You know, you can run the commando with the angled grip and then be able to get even faster ADS speed. You're basically putting an operator here whose DPS is good, but won't be able to take engagements as quickly.
It's like why you don't see Capital running the LMG all the time, right?
Well, I mean, the LMG doesn't necessarily take a long time to ADS. It's just really a miserable gun in every way, shape, and form. It does next to no damage, terrible fire rate, it takes a ton of time to reload. There's very few reasons to ever bring that LMG anywhere except to the waste bin.
Yeah, it is definitely a rarity. But no, he's starting things off, getting a little bit of revenge for last round, taking down 1 C4, as well as the Vector. So you're not going to be seeing that Gunskin support their team for this round.
And over towards Aviator Games' doorway, over towards the billiard table, is the Montaigne of 1. Just sitting there and waiting, as the mountain shall do. Exothermic charge right next to the Maestro of Hugzord, preoccupied by trying to engage the Montaigne. The wall will blow wide open, and now 1 should be able to just waltz inside. That's a perfect avenue. Still from below, both Diogo as well as Navi's are down there. There's some fire being returned from above, and Navi's just on drone work, just trying to give his team the intel that they need to pull off the rest of this execute.
Well, good start here from the boys of Immortals, but a bit of a slow push. They do have the wall open, but they're starting to stack up near that hole. This is where the C4 from Panico could be a real game changer. He's going to be using it to try and get the Monty, but he might get 2 for 1 if he gets down the right place at the right time as they try and push through that small opening.
Oh, great opportunity for Panico here, but he cannot connect. Navi's managing to beat him to the punch, and just 20 seconds to go. Very quick, as Team 1 holding on for dear life. The Buck will spray through the wall, take out the smoke, and now Hugzord drop Diogo a double kill. Just waiting on Ion. Where exactly is the Legion being played? Well, he's in the corner. Yuke will be the one to spot him out and find him. And a swift death will be the punishment.
Flawless round as well for Immortals.
Excellent job.
Well, that bomb site definitely did not work out nearly as well. Now we know it's their secondary. So Team 1, who had a decent start, to an extent. Like, they had a decent contest in that first round, lost it, then managed to pick that up in the second round. They are again going to try a bomb site a second time. We'll see if they can pick it up. But continuing to try the bomb sites twice each and managing to win them only the second time isn't going to put you in the lead here. That's going to leave you 1 point behind. So we'll see, though. They are not going to have to play a third bomb site the way they're doing this, though. Whether they win or lose this, they can go back to trophy next time. There's the 6th pick to the Monty yet again. This time, Panico not going to go with the Pulse, though. He's going to switch over to the Bandit at the last minute.
This is the one way that we are seeing the most usage out of the 6th pick is just simply mind games. I mean, I think that was part of the intended purpose.
Absolutely.
Number one, the main focus being to try and maybe give you a leg up and add an extra level of strategy here. But also, you pull out a Montaigne, oh, we'll fake off the Montaigne and go with something else. And just when they think we might be free of the Montaigne, well, you 6th pick back onto it. You got him. It's really, at that point, you're playing like 6th interdimensional checkers with your opponents. And we've seen some good uses of it as well. There have been a couple times, for example, on Border, round number 1. Not strange for teams to go downstairs to Ventilation Workshop. I mean, it is often seen as the secondary site. Doesn't see the most amount of play, but you say a team will run a castle. Not a lot of teams will run a castle upstairs on Armory. So you think, okay, there's a castle on the board. Let's possibly prep for a first floor, but keep the option open for a second floor site. Then you switch off the castle, and you end up having to attack Armory because they bamboozled you.
That's why I'm just waiting for Ubi to add 6th picking on bomb sites as well. Just to continue to bamboozle even deeper down that rabbit hole. We are going to see Navi's trying the same thing he's been trying the last few rounds. It has worked at least 2 of those rounds, I'd say, fairly effectively. Although we had some great fragging from some of the other team members like Diogo last round as well. They're, of course, going to be rallying around that Monty once he gets in position, but there is some roamers going to try and stop him. So far, the goo mines weren't super effective in really slowing one down on that Monty, but it did try.
Quiet day from both Cyber as well as Panico so far. Not exactly coming out strong for these 2 team members as you'd anticipate them to do so. Back over in Aviator. Now, a lot of this push ultimately ended up falling apart downstairs. The offsite play of Team 1 just got gobbled up by the entry almost solely of the IQ of Navi's, and then after that, it was really just down to Immortals encircling the site and pushing. And at that point, a 5v3 is enough of an advantage to break most anchors on this site in particular. You know, there are a couple sites where it's possible for the defense to be able to hold off the hordes as they crash on you, but not here. First kill's going to go to Panico, though. I said that he'd been a bit quiet. Same with Cyber, and well, they're going to engage in a fight, and it'll be Cyber losing that one.
So one of them was going to see some action.
It takes 90 seconds here in order for the Zofia to get found, but not just fragging potential that's gone from Immortals, but also worth noting that they lose those concussive blasts as well as the explosive blasts too. Team 1 will put a second kill on the board. The Buck will go bye-bye, and 1 just trying to confound the Legion here. Ion peeking for just a second, and, well, he'll take some damage, but not that much. Hugzord eliminating Uke, and now Panico just on this roam, unable to be spotted. The Montaigne drops his shield, and he will punish Ion, but falls, making sure that he has his teammates back. And speaking of back, we'll go back to back, as both teams cannot shake one another.
Well, it is too bad that unfortunately Falls wasn't there a few seconds earlier, or they would have had their time with a perfect flawless round in terms of all 5 staying alive. That was the only death on Team 1 that time, was the Legion right there, who got a little over aggressive onto that Monty, distracting it. But they have continued the pattern of being successful the second time around on both bomb sites. So showing that sticking to their guns and continuing to play it has been paying off. This is where it'll get interesting, because they are going to go back to their first bomb site, and will third time be the charm, or will they go back to the same pattern and not really be able to play it a 6th defensive round? So it'll be the last one. Again, 1, not fooling anyone, I suppose, at this point.
I mean, they know that they're going to run the Montaigne. You've got to expect it here. There's been no flexibility from Immortals on the way that they're playing this attacking roster, and I've got to say, I'm a bit surprised. You throw everything, including the kitchen sink, at the wall to see what works. Right now, you've got mixed results on your lineup. I am fascinated at the fact that Immortals doesn't really want to try anything different. In fact, Team One doesn't really want to try anything different either. They had the Pulse out there for a hot minute at best. But overall, both these teams are seemingly digging their heels in.
Yeah.
And they are just fully committed to these lineups.
Makes me wonder if Immortals hadn't abandoned Clash, would they just be 6 picking to it every time on their defensive rounds?
I mean, 6 picking to a shield does make a ton of sense here.
Yes.
It's working for Immortals so far, though. I will say, I have not been impressed with the Montaigne play from One.
Nope.
Really,
Attackers recovered the bomb diffuser.
Team One have been doing a
Attackers are
great
moving
job
out
of
to locate a
preventing
bomb
the
and defuse
Montaigne
it.
from doing what he does best.
Yeah.
Hardwire, the Guzmats, the Goo Mines, all of them contributing quite well to preventing the Monty from entering towards that site door, giving covering fire for the rest of his team, and putting the real pressure and the heat on your anchors and defenders' plays. And ultimately, as the Montaigne gets hung up, you know that there's usually probably going to be one attacker nearby, and that's when you realize there's only 3 more for us to possibly try to engage. This is very doable.
Absolutely. And almost engagement there from Panico. They almost just know each other's there.
Bomb
Both
located
of them
by
just
attackers.
waiting for the right moment that someone gives some information away. Fortunately, not going to happen yet. Navi's just holding his own there. He's trying to use this angle on Classical Hallway to catch anyone playing on it. It's just Panico happens to be playing the opposite angle. This is working out for them.
In defense of Cyber here, who's on Repel, or Navi's rather, who's on Repel here, this is the same spot that Panico has played every single round, and
It
he's
paid
going to
off.
get caught out. The Montaigne of One being a great distraction. Navi's able to punish that Legion on Repel, and Ion is almost next on deck. That came very close to a 2K there for Immortals in very short order. Falls will jump on top of Diogo. And once again, Team One, their roamers doing exactly what they need to do. Managing to kill this time and pick up key frags. The buck of Diogo will not be able to give that vertical presence underneath the site that Immortals needed the last time they attacked here.
Yeah, it seems like Falls has been doing a pretty good job roaming on that Bandit, seeming to catch the Zofia off guard one round, and now the Buck off guard this round. They just don't seem to be doing a good job kind of identifying the way he's playing it to lock him out. And then Ion is also running around as well. So the fact that they're not really doing anything to stop this Roamers, to me, seems like this is working out fairly well for Team One.
An inadequate flank watch would result in the failure of Immortals to get to the site. 2 of the flanks in both Falls and Ion. One will go down. That's Falls. See ya later. Ion now creeping his way towards the site. The Scorpion, not exactly the most ideal gun to take a long-range fight, but just narrowly missing Cyber as the smoke from GDN will prevent Immortals from getting into the site. Ion will correct course, and he's here. What patience. He goes for a kill, and he'll grab it. Plant goes down, but the Montaigne is there. Navi's great coverage, and Yuke a double kill to end things off. Immortals on a map in which you'd expect the defenders to have a significant advantage. The attackers will take 3 of those 5 rounds. Immortals now move to defense, and we'll see what they can accomplish. The flank watch there from Immortals, it wasn't. It was not there. But Team One was just a little too slow. Great job as Falls tried to get back to site. Couldn't get down. Navi's got the kill needed, but Ion coming so close to being able to just absolutely slaughter the members of Immortals.
Well, Navi's definitely had a knack for catching the Roamers both times. He did get both Falls and Ion. It's just unfortunate he had to lose Cyber before he could catch Ion. But like I said, that could have been very critical. Had Navi's not been in position where Ion couldn't see him, just a little further down, that definitely would have been an easy flank where he probably could have gotten both Navi's and Cyber, as well as potentially flanking the Monty or putting the Monty in a compromised position. It just was all down to timing and positioning at the end of there. And I mean, that's really what cost Falls as well. I think he was on a good roam, just happened to look at the wrong time. And unfortunately for him, it seemed like Navi's was a little quicker on the ADSing that time. Look at it with 8 kills up there along with Yuke as well. Some we weren't highlighting, but has definitely been doing a good job. There is only a 1-point advantage here though for Immortals. They have done a fair job on their attacks, but only won 1 more round than Team One. So Team One definitely could turn this around a little bit. They are going to be bringing the Maestro fairly early on here. something we saw maybe a little bit later
Attackers have recovered
coming out
their
from
diffuser.
Team 1.
Attackers' objective
They're
is
also
to locate
bringing a
bomb and
mute, something I
defuse it.
don't think we saw really coming out too much from Team 1.
Not at all. And I mean, when you look at this Immortals roster, Yuke very quietly being able to put up those kills. He's doing so on that most bona fide support role that you can have, which is your hard breacher most of the time, and is getting impact frags. A lot of Yuke's kills came in the transition off of a post plant. But that's exactly what Immortals has needed.
Well, it's definitely working out, although, like I said, I wouldn't say flawlessly because they are only 1 point ahead. But I think they are a strong contender for having some really good defenses here. As you said, this is a very defensive map, but it is interesting to see that Team 1 also want to run the Monty strategy. So I guess, you know, there is sort of a meta here in Latin America for this map, despite how little this map is played.
I mean, the thing that we've noted is that Blitz, while not as much of a highly favorable operator for the time being, the shield that is being run the most outside of possibly Clash is Montaigne. And I think Montaigne is in a particularly good position to shield his teammates. And when you're looking at a map like this, such as Villa, lots of
Attackers
long
have located
corridors,
bombs.
many of which when you try to engage your opponents, they're going to be very narrow. A Montaigne is a very extremely valuable operator here, crucial almost in being able to just protect the rest of your team. Unfortunately for one, he's tossing these goo mines a little bit effortlessly in front of T1's Montaigne, and now he is dead meat. Oh, but one steals it away!
How did he win that?
Unbelievable reflexes from one, and he's gonna grab a second, gets a third. One, what are you doing on top of the stairs? Right now, this Legion single-handedly keeping his team in play. And now both the Montaigne and the Thermite will have to fall off. The Montaigne pulls out the hipfire pistol, and there goes one. His efforts, excellent. GDN trying to get towards the site with that diffuser. See you later. Navi's just absolutely punishing the Thermite, and Cyber playing just off of the site as the rest of Immortals try to get to the Montaigne before he can get to them. The first defending round victory in favor of Immortals.
Already good start, winning the first round, which Team 1 couldn't do, but really off the back of one that round. He didn't even move much. He was just that top flight of stairs there, painted them red very quickly. 3 kills just back to back. Nicely done. I mean, obviously the Monty pushing him, he couldn't do a whole lot about that. So it was not a surprise to see him fall there, but nonetheless, what a round for him. We were just talking about Yuke and Navi's, but now one is definitely wanting to show up there. Cyber, he's got to have his round soon, hopefully. Either way, though, only potentially 2 rounds left to go if Immortals can keep this up. As you said, this is a defensive favored map. They are on the defense, and so far starting strong doing so. They, of course, need to switch bomb sites now, but they have the opposite primary and secondaries of what we saw from Team 1. They started on Aviator and are going to go to Trophy second.
Used by attackers.
We'll see if they can defend it fairly well here. They do have the right recipe. We'll see what one's going to be bringing. I gotta imagine one's going to be downstairs. We see a lot of times Pulse playing downstairs to take advantage of the fact that a lot of times they want to enter from the bathroom, the master bathroom or master bedroom. Gives you a good position to be able to try and see for them, which I remember seeing, for example, Jarvis doing in a previous match on this map.
I am a little surprised that we haven't seen as healthy of a site rotation here.
Yeah.
Kitchen is a site that does tend to pop up quite a bit, actually.
To be fair, with this map, it's such low play in LATAM, they just might not really know how to play too many of the sites yet.
I mean, it could be that. Also, operator bans usually play a pretty big role there. And one example of that is Ying and Glaz, when getting banned on Villa, is what typically allows teams to have that freedom to go downstairs. Because dealing with smoke, as in terms of smoke grenades, not smoke the operator, dealing with the attacker's smoke on a site like Kitchen makes it very difficult.
Yeah.
And it just relies on, if you don't have a competent mirror play, you lean extremely heavily on your Maestro at that point to be able to see through the smoke and combat the push. And even then, coupled with a Ying or even a shield operator, Kitchen can be an absolute nightmare. So with the bans the way they are, it doesn't surprise me that much that we're not seeing a lot of Kitchen play, but it does surprise me that we haven't really seen it come out even once.
Well,
but
chances are we will if Immortals keeps this up.
yeah, I mean, there will need to be a rotation as well. Part of that is the fact that T1 did not win more than 1 round between losses, so they didn't have to go to that third site, as you noted. And also, you typically see, and you pointed this out, the teams that aren't as confident on sites, we don't typically see that rotate. Oh, Panico, hello! Inside a vault, the Ash doing exactly what you imagine an Ash to do. Just walks right in and he gets 2 freebies, punches his ticket, and then walks right back out. Excellent start for Team 1 here.
Well, looks like we might not see Kitchen after all if he keeps that up. He is on low health now, so there's a good chance he will get traded at some point. But that was such a great start. They still have the Monty at full health as well to be able to start to push in now that they've taken out 2 of the roamers. So they're in a good position to be able to take this, assuming Navi's doesn't go ham on them here.
They have lots of utility still at their disposal. You've got the Twitch to take out those mirrors. You've got the disruption that comes alongside of Zelfia. Panico is the only person who sustained any damage, so this is a very doable thing.
Yeah, he's the most disposable as well.
And he is. He's playing a very singular operator with a very singular focus, and I mean, he did his job quite well.
Yeah.
Navi's coming very close to seeing the feat of one member of Team 1 inside of Bathroom, but using the ACOG trying to hold that long-range angle. He and Diogo will be tasked with defending. As you can see, Uke getting marks from below, just trying to figure out exactly where the Montaigne is. Very susceptible to a C4, but mute, not running it. Instead, they went with a bulletproof camera, so you don't have to worry about a possible C4 from below, but that might not be something that Team 1 knows at this current point.
And you also did hear in the background there a mirror window getting popped as well. As you mentioned earlier, they had the utility for that with the shock drones. So again, more advantage here going over to Team 1. Drones coming out as well, catching Navi's in the bathroom here.
And Navi's is almost certainly a dead man. Diogo is down 2 drones as Navi's will take out his own team's ADS, trying to play around this bathroom, and he does have the benefit of the Alta having such a huge amount of reserve ammunition, but it's a lockout as that's a flawless round from Team 1 to prevent their opponents from seizing match point. And they'll take trophy and statuary, prompting Immortals to either come back to the site or maybe play off one of the other 2, but Aviator Games will remain locked for at least one more round.
Yep, it looks like we're definitely going to see a repeat of that trophy. So far, oh, nope, there we go. They switched it out at the last second there over to Kitchen there. That's what we wanted to see. We wanted to see them not repeating what Immortals were doing, what Team 1 were doing, and actually switch things up. They are going to show a Montaigne. Are they going to 6th pick off of it? Are they just baiting at this point? Nope. Hugzord's going to be the one to use the 6th pick off of Buck to Thatcher. So that will be something that might potentially get some of those jammers that Uke's bringing, and maybe even jam Pulse's sensor if at the right place at the right time, but only temporarily deals with Maestro's Evil Eyes. So, some usefulness coming from that Thatcher, but I got to imagine they were thinking they were probably going to be attacking Statue again, so chances are they might not be prepared as much to attack down here on Kitchen. But the Monty definitely will potentially play into that because of the way he can be used along with the smokes that you were talking about earlier. Although I'm not sure, I think Monty is the only operator on their team that can even bring smokes though. So hopefully he did so. Be able to help for that because he could section off a bit of that Kitchen as well. If they're able to get control of, say, for the dining room, they can start to hit the door, kind of lock them out of the site. But either way, when you look at the scoreboard there, you definitely see Navi's a little bit ahead of what we see from the rest of the team.
5 seconds.
Good plays by him overall. But they are still, again, only 1 point ahead here, but they're still 2 away from taking this.
2 parts of attacking this Kitchen site that I worry for Team 1 in terms of strategy. And obviously they have more than enough, brute force, or more than enough of an ability to just brute force their way through the site. The things that I worry about are, number 1, you absolutely need to be sitting above that B site upstairs. You need to be up there. If you're not playing up there as an attacker, you lose a huge amount of control on this site. Because there's really only one way to be able to retake that Kitchen bomb site, if you can hold the cross above and cut off the ability for the defenders to be able to go for a retake or possibly even rotate, that's almost a guaranteed win most of the time. It really relies on the defenders being able to send somebody up to put pressure on you above. If they can't do that, maybe they have a numbers disadvantage, maybe they're trying to go for a retake and you have, Claymore up there, etc. The only other real successful strategy is to isolate the site with smokes and a strong pushing operator. Now, Montaigne is going to be that pushing operator.
Yeah.
But as I mentioned before, you have Glaz, who can spearhead that push amongst the smoke. You've got Capitao, who can go for the asphyxiating bolts and cut off the very small doorways that you need to get back into the site. You have a Ying that can completely blind people. These tools are not fully at Team 1's disposal right now because they just have the Montaigne, of whom has now eaten about a third of his HP as he tried to get in through that small doorway in Laundry.
Yeah, not to mention the C4 still potentially could do a bit of damage to him here. Timing is not there. Nope, there we go. A team kill from Navi's onto one as one gets the kill with the C4, and Uke taking down GDN. It's mostly going in favor of Team One here as they managed to get Cyber as well. 3v3. This is definitely, the first 2 minutes have gone a bit haywire here as the attackers focused on attacking downstairs instead of taking that top floor control you were talking about. And so far it doesn't seem to have worked out too well. They lost their Heart Breacher as well as that shield. So now they're going to have to frag their way in a bit, but at least they have less people to do it against. But it is going to be down to that LMG and some C4 in the Vector, so a lot of strong defense left here.
Yeah, they can just simply, like I said, they're going to have to brute force their way in. Hugzord off of the Montaigne onto the Thatcher instead, or rather six-picking onto the Thatcher, as you'd mentioned, as the Montaigne is downed. It's just Ion and Panico against Diogo and Uke. C4 expended from the Mira, still in hand for the Mute if need be. Uke has that explosive power, and the Vector not really going to be able to outduel this F2. Two of the highest fire rate weapons in the entire game will come face to face, but the ACOG going strongly in favor of Ion. He'll tag the shoulder, but Diogo, what a pick around the corner. Panico will need to fetch the diffuser. He'll close that gap, but only has about 10 seconds to do so, and all the defense needs to do of Immortals is just stay safe. Uke will get a little bit bold, get the kill, but the kill will be all he needs. It's going to be match point for Immortals, looking to secure all three of those points. They're guaranteed at least one for now.
Well, benefit to Immortals here on match and map point. They get to go back to their primary bomb site as now they've done their duty on two others. So now they are in a great position to be able to cap this off here and go home with the win. But I doubt Team One are out of this just yet, although there is a good chance we could see them shut down here if they can't get some strong presence early on and get some picks, get man advantage, because when the man it's at even man count, seems like Immortals are able to win it. So it needs to be serious man advantage for Team One, and they are going to continue potentially here with this Montaigne if they don't sixth pick off of it, which again hasn't necessarily been the most effective operator. It hasn't always failed either, but I don't think it's really been enough of a game changer to justify its consistent pick like it is for either team.
So Team One staring down the barrel of defeat here in what is a almost certain must-win situation if they want to keep the idea of going to the playoffs in Rio alive. For Immortals, this is a possible huge victory in order to keep that gap with FaZe Clan close, and on top of that, it would also vault them over Liquid, giving them sole possession of second place.
Well, at the very least, they have 1 point guaranteed here.
So they have already surpassed Liquid in that regard, but this will extend that lead if they walk away with it. But no, Team One are going to need to fight for this 1 point. And of course, looking in the rearview mirror, FaZe obviously hoping that Team One will be able to get this.
Yeah.
What this spells trouble for are the teams that are towards the bottom of the standings.
Yeah.
Boot Camp, for example, Pain, because they want to be able to try and narrow the advantage that Team One has over them right now. And I mean, Team One really need to be able to get these points in order to fend off the challengers not too far behind.
It's true. It's going to be nipping at their heels for sure. Although, where you are in the middle of the pack, I mean, it might affect some things, but it is not going to affect whether or not you go to LAN. So there's definitely going to be, I'd say, almost less fight over the middle than there really is over the top. But in this case, as you mentioned, looks like Immortals are already ahead of Liquid for today, at least, with the 1 guaranteed point, but potentially enough to nip at the heels of FaZe. They are going to take control here of the master bedroom and push on out from there with Falls on that Montaigne, and already starting to run into a contest here in the statue trophy rooms.
The Montaigne cannot die early for T1, as Falls has been a great lightning rod to try and attract every part of Immortals. Panico walked right into Vault and gotten 2 kills in a previous round. Here will find none for what could be the final round for his team.
They just closed up every door, didn't they?
They this is the I call this the Chapstick strategy, because this is what Chapstick swears by. Chapstick, of course, a former pro from North America, currently competing in Challenger League. A big fan of barricading every single doorway and making them have to try and take as much time as possible to get through it all. Just so much gunfire will go out as one who'd gotten the lead-off kill will be taken down by the Zofia of Hugzord, holding the angle just by the window, watching as the Legion cannot get back to site in time. Close, but no cigar whatsoever.
I mean, I gotta say, if you're gonna be playing up against the Monty, the Chapstick strat seems like a good idea. Because you're really gonna slow down Monty. He's not gonna de-shield a lot of the time to hit that wooden barricade.
No, I mean, and if you can play it so you don't necessarily need those rotates, which is the biggest reason why you don't barricade everything. It's actually not that bad of a strat. Falls is trying to bait out the Jaeger of Cyber here, just standing at the doorway. Exothermic charge will go off quite successfully, and the Jaeger will move, but instead will not peek out. Hugzord coming very close to an encounter here as he looks in towards Vault. Only 30 seconds left to go, and this is an opportunity for Team 1 to possibly get a high priority target. The Montaigne will get a couple bullets shot into his shield, but that'll be it. 2 from Immortals. Ion and Falls go down, and now another as GDN falls. It's just Hugzord who will find the Mira, takes out the Mira, goes for the Jaeger. The Jaeger plays around the corner. Pistol comes out, but Cyber with the clutch. And Immortals, by a score of 6-3, will take it. That's a big 3 points for them. They'll keep themselves in the hunt for the first overall spot in Latin America, and will take sole possession of second in the standings.
Well, as you said, a defender-sided map, and that is borne out there when the 3 defense wins in the second half and the 2 in the first. So overall, good play though by both teams. I think Team 1 still showing a lot of that potential, but unfortunately for them, it was against what is now officially a top 2 team, for sure, as if they weren't before. Now that they've overtaken Liquid, rather, does make them the number 2 team. So not a big loss, and if you're going to lose to a team, better than losing to, say, Black Dragons or NIP. But either way, Team 1 are going to remain in the middle of the pack.